Okay, let's talk about something I think a lot of us struggle with. Do you ever find yourself just stuck? Like putting off those really important tasks you know you should be doing?
Mm-hmm. That feeling of procrastination.
Exactly. Or maybe just feeling restless, Can't quite focus, hard to get excited about the big goals anymore.
Yeah, it's really common. And, in today's world, focus feels like it's become this super scarce commodity.
It really has. All this constant stimulation, it leaves you feeling scattered, maybe not performing your best, and it can definitely chip away at your self-esteem over time.
Totally. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking into this idea that's gaining a lot of traction, the dopamine detox.
Right.
We're basically unpacking a specific guide that offers a method, a way to fight back against all that overstimulation. The idea is to help you reclaim your focus, tackle those tough tasks more easily.
So the mission here is to pull out the key takeaways for you, the listener.
Yeah, exactly. We want to help you understand why you might feel this way and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it to hopefully boost your productivity and ultimately your happiness too.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Dopamine. We hear about it all the time, usually called the pleasure chemical. But is that really what it is? Is it just about feeling good?
Yeah, that's a really common misconception, and getting it right is kind of key to this whole thing. Dopamine isn't primarily about the pleasure itself.
Okay.
It's actually the neurotransmitter that makes us anticipate rewards. It's the drive, the chemical push that gets us to take action.
So it's the seeking, not the finding.
Precisely. Think evolutionarily, it's what drove us to hunt, to find mates, to survive. It's the force that makes us act.
That makes so much sense. So if it's about the anticipation, the hunt, that explains why getting the reward, like the notification, often feels a bit empty afterwards. You just want the next one.
Yeah, exactly. The guide points out that often, as soon as you obtain the expected reward, you'll often feel empty and unfulfilled. No amount of that kind of stimulation actually brings lasting fulfillment.
Okay, so how has this basic drive been, well, hijacked in the modern world? Because it feels like it really has.
Oh, absolutely. It's been called the molecule of more for a very good reason. The more our environment triggers that dopamine release, the more we crave the next hit. It's a loop.
Right.
And our tolerance builds up. So you need stronger and stronger stimuli to get that same feeling of anticipation, that same drive.
And that's where addiction comes in, not just drugs, but other things.
Yes, exactly. It's the mechanism behind many addictions,
Yeah.
not just substances, but activities like gambling, shopping, video games, even becoming a workaholic.
Wow. So how specifically does modern life hijack this?
Well, think about it. Marketing, apps, billions are spent just to grab and hold your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Social media apps are specifically designed to hook us, those notifications. They trigger dopamine through the anticipation of seeing likes, comments, messages.
And the algorithms. They seem to know us so well.
They're incredibly sophisticated. Amazon's recommendations, YouTube's suggestions, the Facebook feed, they create these never-ending loops. The source puts it starkly. The internet starts using you, hijacking your focus, making you unproductive, restless.
The internet using us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit chilling. What about something basic like food? Does dopamine play a role there too?
Absolutely. Our innate craving for sweet things, like sugar, that triggers dopamine too. Research shows sugar and fat combinations are particularly good at stimulating the brain's reward
So
system.
even our food environment is pushing those buttons.
Right. Now, there's debate on exactly how addictive sugar is, comparing it to nicotine versus harder drugs. But it definitely impacts our reward system, drives those cravings for more. It's another way our environment triggers that response.
Okay, so this constant stream of stimulation, these dopamine hits, it's wiring us for instant gratification. How does that mess with our ability to think long-term, plan for the future, stick with goals that take time?
It's a huge problem. Constant stimulation really impairs long-term thinking. And research, like Dr. Banfield's work at Harvard, shows that long-time perspective thinking years ahead when making decisions now is a key predictor of success.
But everything pushes us the other way.
Exactly. External forces encourage immediate gratification. Unhealthy food, putting off studying, skipping the gym. Our brains get trained to want the quick fix, making it incredibly hard to do the slow, consistent work that actually builds success.
That makes sense.
It's interesting, the guide mentions Steve Jobs didn't let his kids use phones or tablets much.
Really?
Yeah. And Chamath Palihapitiya, a former Facebook exec, even said we need to rewire our brains by getting rid of social media apps because they wire you for super fast feedback.
Wow. So this creates a distorted view of reality, like success should be easy.
Kind of. It leads to these inaccurate mental models where we expect things to happen quickly without the hard work. That can breed jealousy, feeling inadequate, and then just a total loss of patience.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the truth is, achieving big goals takes daily, consistent actions sustained over a long period of time. Think about Amazon. It took them 9 years to become profitable. That's long-term thinking.
9 years. Okay. So bringing it back to the day-to-day, if we're wired like this, constantly stimulated, how does this directly lead to, like, procrastination? Why do we avoid the important stuff?
Well, the guide argues that overstimulation is the main, often overlooked reason for procrastination, when you're constantly getting these highs from easy stimuli.
Like scrolling social media.
Exactly. Then regular, important tasks just seem dull, unappealing. You're on a different stimulation wavelength, as the guide puts it.
Okay.
It gives an example of a writer who, after checking social media or sales figures, finds writing their actual job becomes incredibly challenging, unappealing. Their brain is just looking for that higher stimulation level.
So your brain is basically resisting the less stimulating but more important work.
Pretty much. And your mind plays tricks on you to keep you in that state. The guide lists four.
Oh, yeah. What are they?
First, it tells you, oh, return to work is easy. It gives you this false sense of control.
But it's not easy at all once you're distracted.
Right. Second, it says you can do it later. Classic procrastination fuel. Leads to a habit of postponement. Years can go by.
Guilty.
Third, it confuses excitement with fulfillment. It tells you you're having fun scrolling or whatever, but afterward you ask yourself, was that actually meaningful? Often the answer is no.
That hits home. And the fourth?
The fourth is FOMO. You're missing out. This plays on a scarcity mindset, making you feel like opportunities are fleeting. But the guide argues they're actually abundant. The writer even mentions they rarely read news or answer unknown calls because real opportunities persist. Recognizing these tricks is the first step.
Wow. Okay. So our minds are actively working against our focus sometimes? If overstimulation is the problem, then the dopamine detox is the solution, right? How does that actually work?
Exactly. The detox is defined as the reduction of stimulation to prevent overstimulation and put you in the proper state of mind to tackle major tasks.
Reducing stimulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a quick clarification on the name, the guide notes that scientifically, dopamine detox isn't quite accurate. It's not like you're flushing out excess dopamine. It's more that when you're overstimulated, you need more external stimuli to get the same dopamine release. So the detox helps lower that threshold, that need for stimulation. It makes normal tasks feel more engaging again.
Got it. So what kinds of detoxes are there?
The guide lays out three main types. There's the 48-hour complete detox. This is the most intense. You cut out almost all external stimulation. No drugs, alcohol, exercise, internet, movies, music, phone, social media, sugar, processed foods, video games.
Whoa, that's a lot. What can you do?
Things like contemplative walks, journaling, meditating, reading physical books, stretching. It even draws a comparison to something like a 10-day silent Vipassana retreat, which is obviously way more extreme.
Okay. What else?
Then there's a 24-hour detox. Shorter, easier to manage, maybe a bit less impactful, but still beneficial.
More accessible, perhaps?
Yeah. And finally, there's the partial detox. This is less demanding overall, but can be really effective long-term. You focus just on removing your single biggest source of stimulation.
Ah, okay. Like if Twitter's your main time sink, you focus just on that.
Exactly. Identify your main problem area and tackle that specifically.
So how do you actually do one of these? What's the practical method?
The guide gives a really clear three-step process. Step one, identify your biggest distractions.
Okay.
It suggests making two lists. Cans, things you allow yourself to do, and can'ts, things you're avoiding. And ask yourself a key question. If I stop doing only one thing, which one would boost my focus the most dramatically? That helps you nail down your biggest trigger.
Find the biggest leak in the boat first.
Exactly. Step two is to add friction. Make the bad habits harder to do and the good habits easier.
Friction. Like making it inconvenient.
Precisely. If your phone's the problem, turn off notifications, put it on airplane mode, or even better, leave it in another room entirely. For Facebook, maybe use an extension like Newsfeed Eradicator so you don't get sucked in. For YouTube, something like DFTube to remove the endless suggestions.
Make the default harder to access.
Right. The guide shares this almost extreme example where the writer put their internet modem in a storage room. It created like 12 points of friction just to get online.
12 points. Wow. That sounds intense. Does it need to be that hard?
Well, that's a great point. Maybe not 12, but the principle is key. The more effort it takes, the less likely your lazy brain is to actually do it. You're basically making the effort required for the distraction outweigh that immediate craving.
Making the path of least resistance the focused
You
pass.
got it. And the third step is crucial. Start first thing in the morning, protect those early hours. Don't let overstimulation get a foothold before your day even really begins.
It's like a morning routine.
Exactly. But a specific kind. Something simple that helps you stay calm and focused, not something that ramps you up. Meditate, stretch, maybe listen to some calming music, write down your goals, practice gratitude, affirmations, anything that deepens focus, not adds stimulation.
Gotcha. And the guide also mentioned taking notes during the detox.
Yeah, some extra tips. Note down your urges, feelings of restlessness, reflect on your goals, how you're really spending your time. Try writing down problems to solve them. Identify feels that maybe your busyness is hiding.
That makes sense. Using the quiet time for reflection.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the detox, you reset. But that's just the start, right? How do you actually translate that into getting work done consistently and avoid falling back into old habits, the dopamine relapse?
Absolutely. The detox is the launch pad. Sustaining it is key. First step is planning your day effectively. Know your 3 to 5 most important tasks, prioritize them by impact, and crucially, schedule one major task for each morning.
So being intentional about what matters most.
Yes. The guide defines real productivity not just as busyness, but as consistent focus on your most impactful tasks. Focus, consistency, impact. Those are the pillars.
Okay, focus, consistency, impact. And how do you actually build that focus muscle?
There are 5 practices suggested for developing laser-sharp focus. 1. Be at the same place, same time, every day, like Stephen King sitting down to write regardless of inspiration. Routine helps.
Okay, it's a habit.
2. Choose a trigger. A small action like making tea or meditating for 2 minutes, that signals it's time to focus now.
Cues the brain.
3. Just get started, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Action often generates motivation, and you might find yourself getting into that flow state.
Right, don't wait for motivation, create it.
4. Eliminate distractions. Obvious, but critical. Turn off notifications, log out of social media, disconnect the internet if you don't need it for the task. And 5. Work without interruptions. Aim for focused blocks, maybe 45 minutes intense work, then a short break. Protect that focus time.
Okay, those are practical. What about this idea of open versus closed system?
Yes, this is a really useful concept from the guide. Open systems are things like your email inbox, Facebook feed, YouTube, the general web. They provide a continuous and never-ending supply of external stimuli.
Right, you can scroll forever.
Exactly. There's no end to reach, no point at which you can ever be finished. They're designed for endless distraction. Closed systems, on the other hand, offer little or no room for distractions. Think a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint.
Things with a defined task boundary.
Precisely. The advice is simple but powerful. Start your workday in a closed system. Open that writing document before you open your email. It's like putting blinkers on your brain to avoid the digital chaos from the start.
I like that analogy, blinkers for the brain. But even with all this, slipping back feels inevitable sometimes. What about that dopamine relapse? How do you handle that?
It's totally normal, and the guide gives really good strategies for managing it. First, just be aware when you're relapsing. Recognize the signs, feeling scattered, easily distracted again. Then, just recommit to your routine. No guilt, just restart.
Okay, self-awareness first.
Second, understand it's a battle with your mind. Accept that relapses will happen, it's part of the process. Don't beat yourself up.
Be kind to yourself.
Third, realize the world is kind of against you in this. Marketers, tech companies, everyone wants your attention. Your focus is valuable to them. You have to actively choose to protect it because it's even more valuable to you.
Right, it's a constant defense.
Fourth, prepare a contingency plan. Think about your triggers, the situations where you usually slip up. Visualize them and plan how you'll respond differently next time.
Pre-plan the defense strategy.
Fifth, put a sustainable system in place. It doesn't have to be extreme forever. Find simple, consistent daily routines you can actually stick with long-term.
Sustainable is key.
Sixth, actively cultivate the here and now neurotransmitters. These are things like endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin. They counter dopamine's restless drive, making you feel calmer, more present.
How do you do that?
Things like meditation, focusing on your breath or senses, stretching, which relaxes the body, mindfulness, like eating slowly, noticing sensations, contemplative walking, really observing your surroundings. deep social connection with loved ones, and even just embracing boredom, being okay with doing nothing sometimes.
So balancing dopamine with other brain chemicals.
Exactly. And finally, the guide suggests committing to a 30-day challenge. Pick a routine, stick with it for 30 days straight to really solidify those new habits.
Give it time to become automatic. That's a really comprehensive toolkit. It feels like the core message is really about taking back control, isn't it? Making a choice.
Absolutely. You can choose to control your focus, or you can let the endless stream of stimulation control you. Learning to manage stimulation means you can tackle those big, meaningful tasks with more ease. The detox and these strategies help lower that constant need for external hits, letting you work on what really matters to you.
And that final thought from the guide is powerful too. Excitement and fulfillment aren't the same things. Chasing the next exciting stimulus often distracts us from finding real, lasting satisfaction.
It really does. So maybe the question for everyone listening is, what's one small step, just one thing you can take today to detach a little from that constant stimulation, to cultivate a bit more presence, a bit more purpose in your own life?